Welcome to App Talk with Upptic, where we dig into the nitty-gritty of how to grow apps and games. We speak with industry experts about specific strategies, tools, and tactics we use to find success, and we keep you up to date with emerging news and trends in the ever-changing games, marketing, and technology ecosystem. My name is Xander Agosta, Director of Marketing here at Upptic, and joining me today are my co-host,
Warren Woodward, co-founder of Upptic.
And our guest.
Hi, I'm Chloe, co-founder of Temper.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us, Chloe. Excited to have you.
Yeah, really excited to have you here, Chloe. We have a lot of respect for the Temper team. Anyone working on the problem of UA automation is an area we're always very interested to discuss. So thank you for making the time today.
Thank you for having me, guys.
Awesome. Our first section is Industry Insights, where we do a deep dive on industry news, handful of articles to cover, spanning quite a few different topics. So Warren, why don't you just take us away?
Yeah, so in big crypto-related news, we have an article from Cointelegraph that's just a summary of the upcoming merge. So the headline is "The final countdown to the Ethereum Merge has officially begun." So the Ethereum blockchain's merge is officially underway and will likely kick in sometime between September 13th to 16th. The Bellatrix update, the network's final hard fork before the merge, was activated on Tuesday, marking the beginning of Ethereum's long-awaited transition from proof of work to proof of stake. The completion of the merge will mark Ethereum's the end of Ethereum's energy-intensive proof of work chapter. The next steps on Ethereum's roadmap involve improving fees and transaction speeds via sharding and rollups. Okay, so if all of that sounded like gibberish, what does this mean, and why are we bothering to talk about it? So first, to for those that aren't as deep into the weeds, to kind of clarify what proof of work and proof of stake mean. Proof of work is historically how Ethereum and still how Bitcoin essentially like authorize transactions. And when you hear people complain about crypto destroying the environment, they're basically talking about proof of work. So proof of work is essentially, to be really oversimplified, it's computers competing against each other to solve increasingly difficult riddles in order to authenticate transactions. So over time, this takes up more and more processing power. It's essentially like an arms race. And that's led to this huge environmental impact as this arms race escalates and Ethereum is more adopted. Proof of stake, on the other hand, which is what Ethereum is moving to and what a lot of newer blockchains like Solana utilize, is essentially ran by a system of validators, which you can just think of, rather than everyone competing against each other, a validator is just randomly selected based on the percentage of the ecosystem owned by that validator. So if you owned 1% of the ecosystem, you would have a 1% chance being selected as the validator, but it essentially removes over 99% of the processing power. So why are we talking about this again, and how does it tie into games and apps? So one of the what I feel is like the biggest remaining legitimate criticisms of larger scale adoption for Web3 for gaming is this environmental impact. We're now less than 2 weeks away from this essentially being no longer being an issue. So once this change happens, over 99% of the energy consumption of the main Web3 chain, Ethereum, will be gone. That won't be a thing anymore. So I think this is really exciting. I don't expect any of the press outlets that normally trash all things blockchain to report on this and say that, hey, now we can do Web3 gaming because the environmental issue is gone. I expect they'll just like shift the goalpost and start talking about some other reason to hate on Web3 gaming. But very important to call out that this is finally happening and it's impending in just the next week or two. Yeah, Chloe, any thoughts on this? Have you been, how close are you watching the Web3 space, and is this something on your radar?
Yeah, it's something on my radar. It's of course super interesting, and I think it's a great news. Everything helping the impact on the environment is really great news, especially as they've been working on that for a couple of years now, I think. So it's great. I see like people really understanding how bad it is today, and to see those kind of big initiative is very important. So I'm super happy to see that. Of course, as you said, it's not because of this change that they become super like good for the environment, etc. But it's a super good initiative, and I hope others will maybe follow this lead. So yeah, that's really great news that we're just a couple of weeks away from that change from proof of work to proof of stake. So yeah, that's great news.
Warren, I have a question.
Go ahead.
So One of the, so I think it's really good that we're moving towards like a less environmentally impactful blockchain. One of the main issues and criticisms of Ethereum is just its cost in order to do transactions, which means it's still really difficult to do most games on like the base Ethereum blockchain. So my question is, what is the expectation around how this is going to affect gas fees on Ethereum overall? Do you have any insight there? I know you watch this a little more closely than I do.
Bad news there. So this
Great.
This particular upgrade will not change in any meaningful way the cost or scaling capability of Ethereum from just like a transaction processing component. For the foreseeable future, the solution to that is really things such as that we've covered in the past, such as like layer 2 solutions like Polygon, or what are called the ZK rollup, which we've covered on the past as well. But essentially that are like I refer to them as like the carpool lanes built on top of Ethereum to batch and process a massive amount of transactions as a single transaction, then writing back to the main layer. So we can already get like enormous efficiencies in scale and cost reduction. It's essentially pennies or fractions of a penny for a transaction by using this. But the main downside of the current state is it's another layer of complexity for someone onboarding into the ecosystem. So most games today are built on one of these systems on top of Ethereum. But again, that creates an additional step in onboarding and barrier to entry, which is a negative.
Yeah, no, for sure. There are also like down parts of it. But I think another good part of this move, if I'm correct, is that it will stop like creating infinite Ethereum, and that we'll go towards another way, like because Ethereum didn't have a limited stock, and we could create it up to an infinite number, and this change from a proof of work to proof of stake will also limit its number, which is something I think it's the base of why crypto has been running, is that, okay, we're in a finite world and we are always looking at things like they're being infinite. So I think that's also a good part of it, of this change. But for sure, it's not going to help the cost, which is a downside of this change.
Yeah, well noted. Xander, should we move on to the next piece?
Yeah, we have quite a few articles to cover. All right, so this next one is an Appsumer report with actually, I think I linked to the Business Wire sort of pull quote from it, but it's entitled Appsumer Report, Apple privacy measures provide a boost for Apple search ads and favor large advertisers. That shouldn't be a surprise. So I'm going to read a little quote and then talk about it briefly. Here's a quote. The report provides a snapshot of advertiser behavior from the second quarter of 2021 to the first quarter of 2022, and reveals that Apple has gotten significant boost to Apple search ads as a result of app tracking transparency initiatives, while Facebook and Snap saw declines in both share of wallet and market share. So the clear winners in terms of market share in their report are Meta at 85% market share in terms of usage. So 85% of people use a Meta product. App advertisers use a Meta product. 95% of app advertisers use a Google product, and 95% of app advertisers use an Apple product. Kind of unsurprising. TikTok also has a 45%, and Snap has a 35%. So the vast majority. One of the other interesting callouts from the report was that advertising channel diversity has increased for large spenders, that is people spending more than $1 million a month, to 10.7 channels, and decreased for small spenders, that is channels spending less than 25K per month, to 2.5 channels. So that those are sort of the metrics for channels, the percentage of channels that people are using. And then the other component of this that's really critical is the share of wallet. And so share of wallet, there are a couple of things that are interesting. Number one is that we saw a decrease of share of wallet, that is dollars through the Meta platform and the Snap platform meaningfully decreased, while the share of wallet for Apple Search increased by about 50% to 15% of the entire wallet share. One interesting note that I also saw while looking at this data set was that for them, TikTok represents about 3% of share of wallet. And when I did a quick reference with our internal spend metrics for our portfolio of clients, I think we're spending significantly more than 3% on TikTok. So that was just something I wanted to call out. But it's a pretty interesting report. We'll link it in the show notes. Is there anything that I missed or you guys want to call it specifically? And does this align with what you guys see as well?
I have a feeling Chloe will have a lot of insights here from Temper's perspective. But I'll just add like some very quick comments from my end here. To kick off. For me, I mean, the numbers that we're hearing as far as like, share of wallet for Meta and Snap, I think this is just another lens viewing the same situation that we've been reporting on for months and months. It also reflected in the stock price of the companies. But I am shocked at that adoption number for Apple Search. I did not realize it had become so omnipresent. If 95% share of wallet, if that is accurate, that is insane, and having a 50% increase.
Yeah, well, 95%. I think it's a share of wallet. It's usage. People who use it at least one channel. Yeah.
Yep. Meaning 95% of advertisers have Apple Search in their stack, according to this report.
Yeah.
Also, as you said, Xander, kind of shocked that TikTok share of wallet is still 4%, so small. 3%. Yeah.
I'm not sure. Is it like a study on Appsumer clients or?
Yeah, it's their data set. It's their internal data set.
That's a good point, Chloe.
That's why. Yeah. No, for me, it's not a shock on the Apple Search ads at all. Because of, the changes that happen with Scan Network and the ATT new era. Apple Search ads has a very how do we say, it's a clear advantage now. So for advertisers that need to still keep going their iOS app, which is still the one that brings in the more money, right? They're a bit more in the blur, but with ASA, they get way more results because of the new definition of tracking that is not the same for ASA. So of course, I think it was also maybe an unofficial move from Apple. It was also a clear stake to go to these new changes in Scan Network. It was to take more market shares, and they clearly achieved that. So no surprise here for us that are in the industry. And for sure, TikTok share of wallet of Appsumer clients is not at the reflection of the total share of wallet out there, as TikTok is really growing and getting more and more traction because they have a really engaged audience, and people are spending more and more on them.
Yeah, those are good insights, Chloe. And Xander, I'm gonna channel you for a second and give a short mini rant here on this Apple Search uptick. It's compounding negative things here because, all right, so we already have, as Chloe just mentioned, essentially Apple Search is the one channel that gets to play by a different set of iOS attribution rules than everybody else. Apple Search gets to tell you what they think they attributed using their own data in a more granular way, while everyone else is stuck using Scan. Then put yourself in the seat of like a UA manager who's providing a UA report of channel by channel performance. Let's just be candid, most companies still are not using Scan well. Most are still just surfacing the MMP attribution, and for better or for worse, like making judgments off of that. So you had Apple Search that already kind of cooked its own books because a lot of Apple Search installs are just installs that would be organic otherwise because it's competing for that same space. So like for our clients, we've always said, assume like a downlift, actually, a weird term for an Apple Search install, like maybe it's only worth 70% of an install, depending on the product. So we already had that they're already kind of cooking the books that way. Add on top of that they get to write the rules for their own attribution in a way that no other network can. And then put yourself back in the seat of, just a mid-level UA manager that's like, here's the channel by channel performance of all the channels right now. And I'm sure even if they understand the nuance, a lot of that nuance that we just touched on is lost as it's passed up the chain. And there's probably someone yelling like, why aren't we spending more on Apple Search? The ROAS here is 5 times as high as everything else. So it's a bit of a frustrating trend to see that that these kind of compounding unhealthy practices are being realized by Apple Search getting more and more market share.
When, if you recall, last week we talked about the potential lawsuit against Apple for being anti-competitive. And I mean, this is an incredible example of them using their position as operating system and platform to bias their own products. So I think we are all aligned. This is it's a really abusive behavior, but it's having the intended effect. Okay, we have several more articles to cover and running low on time, so let's keep it moving.
Yeah, let's go. So up next, via Mobile Dev Memo, we have a kind of follow-up article on Netflix's new advertising offering. The headline is, "Can Netflix command premium advertising pricing?" So from the article, the Wall Street Journal reports that Netflix has proactively shopped its advertising offering to potential clients, suggesting that its ad-supported tier might be launched as early as November of this year. Some of the alleged functional details and commercial terms of Netflix's advertising offering, as reported by Wall Street Journal, are somewhat surprising. They are hearing about a $60 to $65 CPM, a $20 million annual spend cap per advertiser, which is the first time I've heard like a spend cap per advertiser, 15 and 30-second pre-roll and mid-roll placements with an ad load target of 4 minutes per hour of viewing, year-long upfront commitments, this is one I hadn't heard before, and audience targeting that is limited to top 10 programming in the US, genre-level content, e.g. comedy and geography. So this is a follow-up to last week. I think we had some of these details, thanks to Eric and Mobile Dev Memo for kind of tying this together. So we already noted last week, like you're kind of paying between 5 times to 10 times typical market rate CPMs with a really weaker amount of targeting. And as Xander, I think you called this out, I forget if it was on social media or on the pod, but you're also paying for what are their lowest spending segment of users, because these are users that are choosing to not pay for Netflix's premium offering. So yeah, I think, you know, our jaws just drop more and more the more we learn about what this offering will be. What do you guys think as we learn more and more about what Netflix's initial ads offering is going to be?
I have thoughts, but Cloé, do you have thoughts?
Yeah, well, it's tough to say because Netflix has like really engaged audience, which is super important for advertisers. It's a new channel. CTV is super like attractive right now. So maybe they say, okay, let's try, we'll see what happens. We go really strong. We even show that there is a capping, like, okay, you will not be able to spend more than 20 million, which is like, wow, okay, they really think it's going to be huge. So why not? They try to go all in. I really have no clue how the advertisers will react, especially in the special period we are in. We're in a recession or not. But I know definitely advertisers will be interested. They will try it out, and let's see the numbers. It's hard to say because 65 euro or dollar CPM, if it converts really well and you get real buyers afterwards, it's great. You don't care about the CPM, right? But when you start this out and you don't know, you have no clue about the engagement, the results, the whatever is going to happen. And as you said, it's also targeting only people that choose not to pay 10 euros per month to have Netflix. Right, so what can be the outcome? Even though there are a lot of cheap guys out there, we don't know. We don't know what's going to happen. So let's see. It's tough to comment before to see the results, because maybe it's going to be a big hit.
Yeah, I have a few thoughts here, right? So I think one thing we covered on the podcast last week, Cloé, was the fact that they're also not passing back any attribution data or anything other than raw impression count from a data set. So we're actually have no idea how well these channels perform, and that I think is the thing that is most offensive to me. And the more I hear about this product, the more offensive and tone deaf it appears. I mean, the costs are going to be some of the highest in the industry. The quality is the least targeted, the least quality of their users, right? The cheapest ones. And then when you compare them to competitive offerings on CTV, an average eCPM is about $12 to $20 for like a comparable set, and you get tracking. And so, to be clear, I think you're right that people will sign up. There will be people who will spend money here. There's going to be a big initial push. But what I'm very curious about is how the long tail goes, because I think what's going to happen is anyone who's at all sophisticated is going to do this and say, like, we have absolutely this is really expensive if you compare it against someone else. We have no idea what the outcome is. And so it seems really unlikely over the long term, unless they improve this product, that this is going to be a major needle mover. And it, as a performance marketer, it just seems like, what are you guys doing?
maybe it's a choice, that to launch the product you don't have any results because they don't know what to expect. It's also a good move to start, and I think they're doing this exclusivity with Microsoft for a reason too. So maybe they bragged a bit about the capacity to sell very, very expensive advertising placements. and they don't want to show the results right now. So that's like, okay, you do branding, guys. You're on Netflix and you're the first ones to go there. If they sell, they're great.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think the thing that makes me concerned is like we see how brand advertising is getting slashed, at least in the mobile ecosystem, at least focused on games across the board. And so we'll see. We'll just jump to our main section. We're talking about UA, data privacy, and predictive analytics. So just to start off, Cloé, will you tell us a bit about yourself, your background, what Temper is, and what you guys are doing?
Sure. Okay, so I'm the CEO and co-founder of Temper. Prior to Temper, I really wanted to launch my own company since I was a kid. So I did a business school because I didn't know where to go, what to do exactly. So I wanted a broad approach of the economic world, let's say, and networking. And my first internship was in a mobile marketing company that just has been fundraised, French company that wanted to open new countries. And I've learned a lot because when I arrived, we were 15 and we had everything to do. I had a really independent world in marketing part there, and I've learned a lot. So I launched my first company, a first app, a year after it crashed. I learned so much from it. It lasted a couple of years, 2 years. I call it my entrepreneurial MBA, let's say. And after that, I had a few other experience more in the product part, in the SaaS part. And then I met actually 3 of my co-founders on Temper, which is a great team. We started by founding Dreamin, which is a mobile marketing agency, international mobile marketing agency. So it's more on the consulting part, on the service part, but it was, I've done that 3 years full time to start and to have all of our clients. And that's how I got the pain points that they were struggling with every day. And actually it was kind of a pact that we did with my co-founders. We're like, okay, we found a service company, but whenever I come with a strong project idea that is worth investing in, let's try to invest in a tech, because that's really what I'm aiming for. So that happened right before COVID, because I had the chance to really talk to all of our clients on a current basis on all of the the trade shows, because in mobile marketing it's super important. You have trade shows all around the world all over the year, and I came with 2 specific pain points. The first one is that even big spenders, they don't they don't master all of their data. They don't have necessarily an internal data science team, which is what it was fascinating to me to see people spending millions in mobile marketing and having no data science team. This was
can confirm.
It was a huge discovery for me at the time. I was like, what? No, it's not possible. How do you know for sure that you're betting your millions on the right placement, on the right advertising channels? And I said, no, we just don't know. We just, okay, every day we look at numbers and then we do our Excel reportings. And I was like, okay, fascinated by that. And the second part was it's really different from the desktop world, but on the mobile app world, we don't have at the time, especially, any automation tools. They still had to go on every platform, every advertising or network to make the changes manually. And I was also fascinated by that. You can handle millions and still go on a weekend, and maybe during the weekend, your campaigns are doing really bad in performance, and you just see that on Monday morning. It was shocking for me to see how the gap was there, and there were no really tool at the moment in 2020 to answer those 2 pain points. So we came with the idea of Temper, which is actually now a prediction and automation technology that enables mobile marketers to maximize their revenue, because this is our added value. Automation is important, but it's the aim goal is really to maximize your revenue thanks to prediction in the first way, and to automate also like how you spend based on future metrics, so not real-time metrics. So yeah, that's how we came up with Temper. We've pitched it to our first clients that were dreaming clients, the mobile marketing agency. They really loved it. A couple of them even offered to open all of their data for us to start doing our internal machine learning algorithm, the prediction part. And yeah, we gathered a team at the end of 2020, starting to do an MVP, and then started a roadshow last summer, actually, that we've closed with one of the big actors in this industry, that is Addictive, which is also one of the only French actor, really big in retargeting, and that's really great like clients in gaming, which is a lot of the core audience, core clients of Temper. So yeah, that's a bit in speed of the last couple of years.
Yeah, Cloé, your journey has a lot of interesting parallels to our own journey here at Upptic. We started our companies right around the same time, just before the pandemic. Our team also trying to solve UA challenges for partners with kind of a different lens, different approach. But one thing that we did early on, yeah, I mean, you're totally right. It's a space with not enough resources. Early on in our journey, you know, any startup is doing a lot of like buy versus build comparisons. So, you know, we did do a lot of research on like what are existing UA solutions. Like, does it make sense to build? Is there something we can license? So. You know, we have seen that there's teams that have been building in the space, like BitAlgo had some offerings there with kind of limited channel coverages. Acquired.io, which was acquired by Adjust, kind of addressed pieces of it, and then we're good friends with the team at Bubbleye, who made a pretty robust solution that covers kind of, I'd say, specializing in some of the SDK networks. But definitely overall, like it's an underserved market, to your point, versus like what the opportunity is. And none of these have also really gotten like super massive adoption. So I'm just curious, like, why do you think that there has been so little? It's such a massive problem and opportunity. Why do you think that there has been so little resourcing against this issue, and yet to be sort of like a true breakout product in the market?
Well, I think there's a couple of reasons, but yeah, I think there are a lot of actors that went through very specific topics. So BitAlgo, as you mentioned, went really into the creative part, which is great, and they specialized there, but they didn't serve the other problems as automation at the beginning. And then you have also other competitors that really focused on the automation part, but without the added value to say, okay, how do you automate something that will help you scale? Because if at the end you automate with your real-time data, that's good, because okay, you can make sure that your campaign performances that are bad will be paused immediately, but how do you make sure that you have the best media mix, etc. I'm not saying that we revolutionized the idea of the pain points out there, but we really focused on how to maximize the revenue of our clients. And that's the only thing that is interesting for us. And of course, there are a lot of tech barriers because the connections to the MMPs, to the marketing channels, you have to maintain the connections to the marketing channels to make it efficient. So a lot of actors also said, okay, we're going to be connected to all of the marketing channels out there. We have some competitors that are like connected to 50 marketing channels, but then how do you maintain that? It's harsh, and then therefore they have way less data that they can pull from those marketing channels because they're taking less, let's say. For us, we had a total different strategy. Was okay, we want to help mobile marketers on a massive scale have access to prediction and to automation. So how to do that is to focus on the main advertising network, but to make it really work well, and to invest massively on the prediction algorithm. And that's what we've done. And I believe that's the good recipe to go there. And maybe they had a different approach, and so the adoption was a bit less interesting because the added value is a bit it covers a lower scope, let's say.
Right. You've really drilled down and focused on a really key pain point. I kind of want to like double click on that and focus there. So can you talk a little about what exactly does how exactly does Temper Predictive Analytics work? And we just talk a little bit about like what are you guys doing? And we have a fairly niche audience in the fact that like a lot of our people are really in growth marketers who have a deep focus on this. So I think we can talk a little bit more granular than you would maybe to a general audience, just because a lot of people who are going to understand exactly what you're talking about in this case.
Okay,
so you just talk a little bit how it works.
Yeah, sure, of course. So we're connected in the API through the MMP of our clients, the main one, and we gather their data, their revenue data, all of their spending data from the MMP, but we're also connected to some of the marketing channels, right. So directly to gather everything that we're missing there, the creative data, etc. So everything enters the Temper metrics, as we call it, the Temper engine, and thanks to all of those data that we gather from there, so it's no SDK. It's really easy to be onboarded. It's just like you have to approve us on your account, like an agency, let's say, or on your AppsFlyer board. It's just to allow Temper partner, etc. We gather all of your data and all of your historical data, which is super important for our machine learning algorithm to work, to see the patterns, to see the trends. What we've been working on for the past couple of years is really to find a strong correlation between the way your budget was set, your bid was set, and the revenue that you're making. So we really started with ROAS optimization, to really look at those correlation in the past trends with seasonality, etc. And once we found that, we've started making prediction in the past to see how good the algorithm was working. And we have an average of 90% accuracy that we hope to even go closer to 100%. And so, yeah, that's really pretty much it. Now we're also working on lifetime value prediction, because it's very important, especially for our gamer targeting audience. But that's really how the predictive analytics is working. And I think everything is working like that. You really have a deep dive in the historical data that you have to understand like the past, to understand the future with a good tech to help our clients to really know exactly the good media mix they should be, because the outcome, maybe I should go up to the output of Temper, is to give you the optimization on your budgets, your bids, and your creatives. So it's a cross-channel view. Let's say it's across your marketing channels. We say, okay, maybe you should spend 10% less here, 10% more here. You should adjust your bid this way. You should adjust your daily budget this way. And this is what you should expect. Like the performance, the added revenue that Temper is bringing you in the next 7 days, for instance, will be up to 10K if you put this optimization in place. And then, yeah.
No, go ahead, please.
No, just to finish the user journey, let's say, then you can automate this change directly from Temper to maximize your time. Because for me, UA managers should focus on strategy, on doing the good creatives, on selecting the good audiences. They should not spend their time in doing Excel reporting or going through all of the platforms making manual changes.
Awesome. You already answered one of my two follow-ups, but these two are related. But maybe if you can just elaborate a little bit more. The first was, the ability to write back. The other half of that is the granularity of this decision making and prediction. If you could, touch on. I would assume both have limits based on the API, how robust the API is of a given channel. Is that assumption correct? Like, what can a user expect as far as like coverage in both like granularity and ability to do those write back changes? Does that vary by what's available, what's supported by a given network?
So for now, the only changes that we provide are available on all the marketing channels, which are to pause a campaign, to increase a budget, to increase or decrease a bid, to pause a creative. Those are the main changes, because again, we want to have it's a massive approach for everyone that is customized based on your data. So it's really customized, but we want everyone to be able to use it really easily and not have okay, on this channel you can do that, but not on this one, So no, it works towards all of the channel.
And so we can understand there's sort of two. My first question is, what channels do you guys cover currently? And I mean, yeah, I guess that's the first piece.
Yeah, so we've started with Facebook and Google.
Makes
We've
sense.
just finished implementing, so Applovin now is running, and during the next, this month, we're gonna have also Unity and Vangel, and the next one in lines for Q4 will be TikTok and Snapchat.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay, one of the things that I kind of want to fold back on a conversation we were having earlier is let's talk about data, and specifically, attribution efficacy.
Yeah.
And the fact that we're seeing with ATT and scan, we're seeing decreased efficacy in traditional attribution. How are you guys solving that issue? Are you using MMP like probabilistic data? Are you using scan at all? How is it all folding back into your predictions? And does this lead to a competitive advantage or disadvantage for a company like Temper going forward?
So for us, it's more an opportunity because you have less data, right? With the data predicts here. So you need even more than ever prediction because you need modeling to make sure, like, the good news is that now, for instance, with Scan Network 4, you have more data points to use in modeling, which should improve your accuracy. But if you don't do any modeling, you're in the blur, totally in the blur. So Temper are one of the tools that can help you to understand better, and you said it before when we were talking about the report on ASA adoption. A lot of advertisers are still like, okay, I don't even have a conversion value set up. I don't know. I just leave my budget this way because I don't know how to do. So Temper is really here to like help you get more with less data, let's say.
Yeah, that makes sense. So I guess the other side of the question is, what signals are you using from the MMP in order to make those decisions? So is it, yeah, I guess. So
you mean specifically in the Scan Network area?
Well, no, I mean like what do you pull in the MMP attribution? You said you pulled in MMP, right? And so are you using traditional attribution? Is that the main signal you're getting?
We're not using any fingerprinting or any other attribution type because we believe that if our clients are using an attribution tool, that's how they define their attribution models, right? So it's only the MMP that triggers that are the inputs for our algorithms. Let's say, yeah. Right.
So I guess then the follow-up question would be: you're using the MMP data as however comes in from from your client.
Yeah.
Generally what that means, you're going to have two pretty disparate data sets, right? We'll have one which generally the SDK channels, word video channels like Applovin, IronSource, Unity, those guys will generally have probabilistic attribution assigned to them. Maybe not with all your clients, but the MMPs still allow that. And then the data for social channels or SANS networks does not have probabilistic attribution. Have you seen that as being an issue with building out predictive models, or is that something that you guys have not run into yet?
No, not really. We're relying on the MMP attribution only. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, because what we've found, I think we've done a fair amount of work in this space, and what we found is the data sets look so distinct. We kind of have to apply one set of logic to SANS networks, self-attributing networks, and then a different set of logic to all the probabilistic networks because the data sets are so night and day.
Well, it sounds like, Chloe, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it sounds like you're saying that you're also ingesting the scan data to inform the iOS models. Is that correct?
So we're working on that. It's something that we want to launch for the beginning of 2023 that we're not covering with Temper yet. And that's mainly because of Scan Network 4. We knew there would be a lot of changes, and if we had launched something on the Scan Network on the prior version, we would have to do a lot of new rework. So we really wanted to focus first on the Android part, and now that we have a bigger clarity and vision on Apple, how it's moving forward and in a good way for us, let's say, because we have more data points coming. We are actively working on the R&D part for 2023.
Super helpful. Thanks for getting a little into the weeds with us there. These are the kind of problems that we're always thinking about. Yeah, so it's fun to nerd out about it.
It's tough. It's tough for everyone. No, for sure.
So, I mean, I guess there's a few things I want to talk about before we wrap up on this subject. Number one is like, where have you found early success? So what are some of the channels that you found have been you've been able to add a lot of value using an automated predictive analytics product?
Yeah, so we've started really with Google, Facebook for a couple of like really the beginning, like the first full year, to really dig in and to understand, because it's like 80% of the media spend. So we really wanted to start with the big guys, and it was quite interesting to see how this across marketing channel view was important, because of course you have tools like Facebook AAA, you have Google also automated possibilities, but you don't, and they've like they're biased, because of course they want you to spend better, but they want you to spend more if we are if we're totally honest here. So with our unbiased view and our algorithm, we were able to really see results moving forward, like moving budget from one to another, from one campaign to another. And I didn't answer your question before, actually, for the granularity, but we look also at the ad set and the ad level granularity. So it was super interesting to see those results, even on those two big giants. We thought about looking at ASA, but then we said, okay, we need to really, ASA is really specific and working really differently. Even for the creative part, it's really specific. We wanted to work on the scan network part before releasing ASA. So that's where we moved to the SDK network, like AppLovin, Unity, etc. And now we're just starting to see the results with them. But the good news is that you don't have to do a specific algorithm for each marketing channel. It's really like the logic behind that works. So that's great for us.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. So if we think about sort of forward looking, right? So you guys are obviously investing very deeply here to help with UA teams going forward. We spend a lot of time thinking about what the future of UA is going to look like in order to get ahead of that trend. What are the biggest challenges that that UA teams and growth teams are going to face going forward, and how can they prepare themselves to front run those trends in order to make sure that they're going to be successful for the next, call it 1, 3, 5 years?
Wow, there are a lot of things to say there. It's a tough one, but I would say, like, okay, invest your time where it's the most important, where the computers can't help you guys. And I believe that today creativity is still the human thing, right? And creatives are so much important for your performance and for the performance of your ad spend. I think that unfortunately, with the changes of data privacy, the big spenders will win and the low spenders it will be more difficult, because they will have way less data points and it will be difficult for them. They will struggle to spend on more advertising channels, because you will need to spend a lot of budget on each to have some data. But with tools like Temper, it will help you to still have more insights and be able to make some tests and to quickly see how are the results, because the idea is not to wait for the results to know them, but to have the prediction for it, so to be more profitable, more fast. And this way you can really focus on the strategies, on the creatives, which is, I believe, one of the biggest topic for the performance of UA managers.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, and one thing, just to echo some of what Cloé is saying there, as the algorithms of every network get more and more robust, we have a tendency to lean on more and more of our optimizations in the hands of the networks. But then, the networks are never really working in your best interest at the end of the day. They're trying to maximize their eCPMs. So, we're big fans of advocating for some sort of tooling that is sort of a neutral system working in your interest that's agnostic. So I think that's a lot of the value of a platform like Temper, is having that agnostic tool set to just make decisions on, like, no, this is better. I don't care how good the salesperson is on this team. Like, there's better performance here. So just use logic to navigate budget over there, and an algorithm that can act in the interest of the buyer rather than in the interest of the seller.
Thank you. Thank you, Warren.
Yeah, I totally agree. Cool. Well, thank you for talking to us about that, Cloé. Very interesting stuff. We'll jump to our last section, which is app of the week. We can start with Warren. Warren, do you have an app this week?
For sure. I'll go fast.
Go ahead.
Cool. So mine is one I've been trying to get a moment for a while. I've been wanting to mess around with Netflix's gaming platform or sub-platform, and I finally got to download Into the Breach, which is a game that's got my name all over it. It's a pixel art based turn-based strategy game. It originally came out in 2017. I just started playing it, but I love it already. Some of my favorite games of all time are the Advance Wars series on Game Boy Advance and DS, and this is definitely a spiritual successor to that, with kind of a post-apocalyptic sci-fi bent. So I just started playing. I can tell I'm going to get really hooked on this, and also gave me a chance to test out Netflix's gaming flow, which is a little janky. You can go in the Netflix app and see the games, but then they redirect you to the Apple Store, and then you come back and re-authenticate in the game with your Netflix account. But I'm pretty bullish on the gaming portfolio that Netflix is starting to assemble so far. So definitely worth checking out, and obviously free to play as a premium product if you are a Netflix subscriber.
There you go. Yeah, Subset Games it's a cool studio. They do a lot of really cool indie games. They did FTL, which was a great indie sort of roguelike game, which I highly recommend for anyone who is interested in that space. Cloé, what about you?
For me, okay, so it's totally different area. I picked Calm. I'm a big fan of meditation, and I really believe that this app is great, really helping with, all of the noises that you have as in the entrepreneurial life, or for everyone actually today. It really helped my focus, my clarity, and to take the time for big decisions, to make sure, that I have everything in mind and I have the ability to stay focused again. And just shut the noise. It's a bit like racing horses. They have like blinds, they just know, okay, the finishing line is there. Don't look everywhere around all the time. You'll just lose your focus, and that's bad, especially when you want to do a lot of stuff, because we all want to do so many stuff in our daily lives. It helped me a lot. It helps me a lot.
I think that's a great recommendation. I could definitely use it in my life. I'm just curious, Cloé, have you tried multiple meditation apps, and it land on that one as your favorite?
Yeah, actually, I tried the French one before that it's called Le Petit Bambou, which is quite big in France. I liked it, but Calm, really, I love one guy, Jeff Warren. He does daily trips every day, 10 minutes. This guy is really great for meditation. I loved him. And then I found also, there is actually a series by LeBron James on like being healthy, like physically fit, but also mental fit. And I love this, and it's really inspiring. And that's why I subscribed to Calm, because I really loved it.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Xander, do you have an app this week?
My app this week is a total cop-out. My app this week is the Apple Weather app, and that's because it's been it's been so hot in California. I was like melting yesterday. It was like over 100 degrees in the house, and I don't know how I got any work done. And so, I sort of say this as a joke, but I actually use this app a ton. And it's one of those like products that everyone uses and doesn't even think about it as a product, because it's totally integrated into the operating system. And it's like an example of Apple doing really good work, and I shit on them a lot, so maybe it's just my chance to give a shout out to Apple for having good weather.
Xander says something nice about Apple, and it's the weather app. Awesome.
I just hope you're not from the ones that trust more the app than the weather they're seeing.
No.
I have so many friends like that. Are you sure it's raining? No, you can see it.
The app says otherwise.
Not.
I'm not that bad.
Okay,
awesome. Cool. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Cloé. If someone wants to get a hold of you or learn more about Temper, how can they do that?
Well, they can follow me on LinkedIn. I'm really super responsive there. And we're gonna launch some big news in a couple of weeks, so you can definitely follow us there.
Can you spell the name of your company, just for anyone listening?
Temper.ai, so TEMPR.ai.
Awesome. Warren, take us out.
Yeah, Cloé, thank you so much for joining us this week. We have a ton of respect for a team like Temper working to solve these often very complicated, very frustrating ongoing challenges in UA and automation. So much respect. And as always, the podcast today was brought to you by the folks at Upptic. Here at Upptic, we do all things gaming and app growth. So we're a full stack service. Think of us like a bolt-on growth marketing org, bringing both the growth marketing professionals and the tools for measuring and optimizing your UA, creative, and marketing analytics work. So if you'd like to learn more about Upptic services, you can reach us at upptic.com. That's upptic.com.
Awesome. Talk soon.